So in the last class, we discussed two stanzas, the first and the second stanzas, which talked about the power of music regarding the creation of the universe. Now, today we are moving on to each of the musical instrument that Dryden is referring to, and we are going to see what sort of an emotion each instrument is going to ignite. So let's see stanza number 3. Okay, so this is going to be the stanza that I'm going to read. The 8 lines that I'm going to read, that is going to be the third stanza. Okay. The trumpet's loud clangor excites us to arms with shrill notes of anger and mortal alarms. The double, double, double beat of the thundering drum cries, "Hark! The foes come! Charge, charge! 'Tis too late to retreat." Okay, so this is the stanza that refers to which musical instrument? The trumpet. Now you know the trumpet. Okay, it is often used to it has a loud sound. The trumpet, the instrument, has a loud sound, and it is usually used to denote war. Okay, it is used in wars, and that is what is mentioned here. The emotion of anger and that fierceness, that rage, those fierce and violent emotions of anger, fierceness, and rage are ignited by the trumpet. So let's see. The trumpet's loud clangor excites us to arms with shrill notes of anger and mortal alarms. Okay, so the trumpet has a loud clangor. The sound of the trumpet is too loud. Okay, and what does the trumpet do? It is capable of exciting us to arms. Okay, it excites us to take weapons and start fighting, because the notes of the trumpet are full of anger. The notes of anger and mortal alarms. So the wild music of the trumpet can ignite or incite anger. Okay, and that is the mention of trumpet there. So you can see the 4 lines refer to the trumpet. The trumpet's sound excites us to take weapons and start fighting. The second 4 lines, or the lines 5 to 8, refer to another instrument, and that's the drum. And you can hear the auditory effect of the drum in the 5th line. The double, double, double beat. Okay, so that's the sound of the drum, right? Da, 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 da. The double, double, double beat. So you can see that the poet uses an auditory effect to bring that feeling of a drum. The double, double, double beat of the thundering drum. So what is the voice of the drum? It has a thundering voice. And the drum is thundering, and it ignites us to go forward, to progress. The army progresses, marches forward to fight in the war. Cries, "Hark! The foes come." Who is a foe? F-O-E, foe, enemy. So here the enemies have approached us. Come on, charge. It is too late to retreat. Okay, so retreat, to go backwards. It is too late to withdraw ourselves from the battleground. Now the only option is to fight or die. So the drum has a beat that again incites us with anger and ignites those emotions of violence and fierceness, and excites us to take weapons and progress forward and fight the battle. Okay, so this is the stanza number 3 that refers to 2 particular musical instruments. One is the trumpet and the second one is the drum. So I hope it is clear to you. If you have any doubts, you may please respond in the chat box. I'll come to that later. Now we proceed to the next instrument that is in the stanza number 4. Okay, so forget the lines structure that I'm projecting to you on my screen. You can refer to your textbook in Symphony of Verse. The textbook has the right structure. So the stanza number 4. Okay, in this stanza of 4 lines, we are given a new musical instrument. another musical instrument, and that is the flute. So let's see what the flute has to do. The soft, complaining flute in dying notes discovers the woes of hopeless lovers whose dirge is whispered by the wobbling lute. Okay, so the music of flute is given an adjective there. Two adjectives are given there: soft and complaining. Okay, flute is mentioned to be, or it is described with two words, two adjectives there. It is soft and it is complaining. So the music that exudes from the flute is soft and complaining, and it refers to the feelings of love, the feelings of longing and nostalgia and sadness of hopeless lovers. Okay, what does the flute do? The soft, light, wonderful music, the melody exuding from the soft, complaining flute in dying notes shows the sadness of hopeless lovers. Okay, either solitary lovers whose partner has left them for a while, for a temporary while, maybe they are missing them or something, and that emotion that you feel, that longing to get united to the lover, either that, or some people may have left another person, they've had a breakup and they've left forever, and the other partner is really sad about it. Okay, either ways the emotion is that of longing and the grief and all that. So that is what is referred to by the flute's music, the soft complaining flute. The flute exudes a music that is that has the tone of a complaint. And in the dying notes, what is a dying note? The note, I had already explained what is a note in music. The sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa, they are the notes, and while the flute is playing music, there are certain notes that are so faint, so lightly heard, the volume may be fading, right? So in such dying notes you can feel the sadness and sorrow and grief of the hopeless lovers. And now that there is a reference to death, the lamentation, vilapam, the dirge, okay, dirge, dirge means vilapam, lamentation. So the song of the flute, now in the dying notes, the song of the flute is transformed into a dirge, into a lamentation. Mathuramai ഒഴുകിയ പുല്ലാങ്കുഴൽ നാദം എന്തായി മാറുന്നു? വിലാപമായി മാറുന്നു. Whose dirge is whispered by the wobbling lute. So what is the emotion that a flute renders? It has a soft music that has the tone of a complaint, but as the notes die away, taking the emotions of grief and longing and woe of the lovers, that music actually turns into a dirge. It converts itself into a very sad, sorrowful song or a lamentation. Okay, so this is the passion or emotion reflected by the flute. Flute resonates with a softness that is appropriate for expressing the very fragile emotions of the lovers. So fragile that it is so weak. It is a dying note. It is a very weak note. Okay, so this is the emotion that is reflected in the music of a flute. Okay, now, so we have seen 3 instruments so far. In the stanza number 3, we had seen 2 instruments, the trumpet and the drum, igniting us to fight in a war, the passion of fierceness and rage and anger. And in contrast, we have a very weak emotion, that the stanza 4 represents the emotion invoked by the flute as a soft, complaining voice, right? The emotion of sadness. Now, stanza number 5 shows the violin. Okay, violin is a very wonderful instrument that can actually ignite a lot of emotions, and it is very difficult to learn the violin as well, right? So let's see what the poet has to say about the violin. Sharp violins proclaim their jealous pangs and desperation, fury, frantic indignation, depth of pains and height of passion for the fair, disdainful dame. Okay, now what does a violin do? In contrast to the softness of the flute, the violin has harsh emotions. Okay, the emotion discussed here is jealousy, asuya, envy. Okay, so the emotion of jealousy can be invoked with the music of a violin because its strings are so sharp and the music is so sharp. Sharp violins proclaim their jealous pangs and desperation. So, jealousy, desperation, again, emotion of fury, extreme jealousy leads to fury. If you are jealous of somebody and you are building that jealousy with one incident after another, you start hating that person, right? So, jealousy, desperation, fury, indignation. Indignation is again scornfulness. You don't like. You don't. If you don't prefer to be with a person you hate, you actually have that indignation, right? So that is the emotion that is invoked by the sharp violin. In contrast to the softness of the flute, the harsh sound of the violin reflects the jealousy which is peculiar to a lover. Maybe after a heartbreak or after a particular lover leaves someone and goes for another person, there is heartbreak involved, there is hatred and fury and jealousy and indignation, pain involved, right? So this is what is represented by the music of the violin. Fury, frantic indignation, depth of pains and height of passion. Okay, for the fair disdainful dame. Okay, so if a lover has broken another woman's heart and has gone for a new person, definitely the ex girlfriend or the ex lover would definitely feel all these emotions, right? So the sharpness of the music exuded by the violin is enough to ignite jealousy, fury, indignation, pain and passion for the fair disdainful dame. Disdainful again means hateful or scornful. Okay, so you have a lot of alliteration in this particular lines: fury, frantic, and pains, passion, disdainful dame. So you have a lot of alliteration going there, right? So this is the emotion invoked by the sharp violins. Okay, now we'll proceed to the next stanza. Okay, so we have discussed the trumpet, we have seen the drum, we've seen the soft flute, and in contrast, we have seen the sharp violin. Now, the stanza number 6, we reach the particular musical instrument that is attributed to St Cecilia, and we are coming to the point of the poem. Okay, stanza number 6. But oh, what art can teach, what human voice can reach the sacred organ's praise? Notes inspiring holy love, notes that wing their heavenly ways to mend the choirs above. Okay, so this stanza talks about the organ, the keyboard, the organ, the church organ that is believed to have been invented by St. Cecilia. So, in enlisting all these different instruments, the poet wants to compare the flute, the trumpet, the drum, the violin, all those instruments. He wants to compare it with the organ, and in that comparison, he exalts or glorifies the organ. He praises the organ, and in that way, this poem celebrates Saint Cecilia. So, what does stanza 6 say? But oh, what art can teach, what human voice can reach the sacred organ's praise. Okay, so if you reach your human voice, you will not be able to reach it as equal to the sacred organ. It takes a huge amount of skill and effort to teach the sacred organ. So that is the glory of the sacred organ. So you can see that organ, the keyboard, is mentioned here as sacred. The adjective is given as sacred. Compared to the previous stanzas, the adjectives were given in a very human, in a very worldly sense of the term, right? The trumpet's loud clangor, or the beat of the thundering drum, or the complaining flute, or the sharp violin. So in contrast with all of these, we can see that the organ is given the higher position, right? It's given a privilege. It's given a sort of a divine position, the sacred organ. And the poet says that no art can teach, no human voice can reach the level, the supreme position of the sacred organ. It is worthy of praises because the notes exuding from the sacred organ inspires holy love. Okay, holy love means God's love or divine love. So all the other emotions were human and mortal. Remember the trumpets loud clangor, the double beat of the thundering drum, the soft complaining flute, the jealousy invoked by violin. All those emotions were quite human, quite mortal. But here you can see that the sacred organ actually invokes holy love, something that we say agape, the divine love, selfless, sacrificing love, the perfect form of love, agape, something like that. So that is what the sacred organ is inspiring. Notes inspiring holy love, notes that wing their heavenly ways to mend the choirs above. Okay, now there is the comparison between human instruments, human music, and heavenly chorus. The choirs above. What is the choir above? There is the Christian belief that angels, thousands of angels are there in heaven who are glorifying God always, all the time. Okay, so there's a heavenly choir in heavens, a choir of angels who are singing songs of praise and glorifying God. So the sacred organ actually take this music from high up to the earth. The sacred music, the music coming from the sacred organ matches with the heavenly choirs, the music of the heavenly choirs which glorify the God in heaven. Notes that wing their heavenly ways to mend the choirs above. Now, what is the specialty of the sacred organ? The sacred organ of St. Cecilia actually is even capable of correcting the mistakes done by the heavenly choirs. It is of that supreme level. It is so sacred that it is even able to mend or correct the heavenly choirs of angels, even that. So that is the power of music of sacred organ, believed to have been invented by Saint Cecilia. So we can see that organ invokes holy love, and there is a comparison between human voice, between other instruments, and the Saint Cecilia's sacred organ. So with this, we can see that the poet stops mentioning the different musical instruments, and in the next stanza, he actually proceeds to the miracle done by Saint Cecilia, or the story of the miracle associated with Saint Cecilia. But we'll discuss that in the next session.